Welcome to Ready for Real Estate. I'm Lauren. Whether you're renting your first apartment, buying a family home, or building an investment portfolio, this show's about the strategy and the nuts and bolts of the industry. We believe real estate is the most versatile tool for building wealth, but you have to know how to use it. We're here to help you navigate the shifts so that when opportunity knocks, you'll be ready. Let's get into it.
Well, welcome, folks. Welcome back to Ready for Real Estate, the podcast. And I am with our co-host, Lauren Pio, today.
Hello.
And we have our special guests, William and Shelby. And today's episode is a celebration and a preparedness of upcoming Earth Day. And William and Shelby is going to be talking to us about how to really prepare and be part of Earth Day. And both myself and Lauren hold Earth Day close because of personally, my outside job does a lot with Earth Day, with reuse of government property. And then Lauren, if you want to explain what you do for Earth Day, would be great.
Sure. So I just love nature. I love to celebrate earth and home, and the more that I can do to make my yard, my property friendly to nature, the critters that call it home, I will. It's something that I've been digging into more and more recently, and it's something that I love to bring to my clients as well, because it's a lot, as Shelby, I'm sure I'll touch on, it's a lot simpler than you expect sometimes.
Yeah. That's cool. So just as a general background, the reason why we started Ready for Real Estate is to really have people take down that barrier of getting into real estate. And whether it's buying a house or looking for plumbing, even doing outside of your homestead, of where to start, how to do it, and kind of be confident in doing it. And this is kind of set up for you to be successful. So we bring in pros like William and Shelby to really kind of help you guys out and tell you, like, it's okay. We all learn, and we all learn together. And great people like William and Shelby are here today to tell us that. So without further ado, I want to welcome William and Shelby on. How are you guys?
We're doing well.
Yeah, doing well.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on. So tell me, give us a little background on how you got to this point today. So I love your background there. You must be totally immersed in that. So fill in our audience on how did you guys get to where you're at today?
I guess we'll start since we're actually at one of my clients' places right now. But so my
Okay.
business is in native landscaping. I call it wildscaping because I just work with
Uh-huh.
native plants. And I started my business pretty recently. It was about September of 2024, I think it was. Yeah. And since then, it's been crazy. I have not stopped getting clients. It's just been constant. And what I do is I will go to somebody's home. I'll do site visits, and then I will tell them like what they could plant where to kind of help bring some of our pollinators in if you want to attract certain species of butterflies or birds or moths. But then I also offer design. So I will design landscapes for clients, and then I'll also do installation. So I'll go in and I can plant. And then I also offer maintenance. So once the landscape's in, I can help come in and make sure it stays healthy and thriving and keep invasive species from coming in and taking over, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah. So I do a
So
lot.
you're
but
like a one-stop shop. So
yeah.
one phone call and then you'd set it and forget it. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And so who would be your best client? Do you have a certain land size to deal with? Can you put, like, I live in a Philly row home. So I have a little strip of land, but my neighbor across the street last summer had a giant bee's nest that he kept out there, and the bees just went around and I guess pollinated is the best way to do it. Yeah. So I didn't have a problem. Everyone else did, but I knew what they were there, and so I'm waiting for them to come back now. But for
Yeah.
you, do you come into the city? Do you go more rural? I mean, where's your ideal place to work?
So where I live is very rural. So I live in Perry County. So I live in the middle of the woods, surrounded by farm fields. And I have to say, a majority of my clients are kind of 50-50. Half of them are here in Perry County, so it's a rural atmosphere. But then the other half, I drive about 45 minutes over the mountain down south to Camp Hill, Carlisle, Mechanicsburg, and they're more urban, suburban areas. So I have a pretty wide diversity. I actually have one client now that this is my first time working with an HOA. So
Yeah,
trying to figure out how do you put a wildscape in that doesn't terrify the neighbors, but you still bring all the bees and the butterflies and the
yeah.
moths and hummingbirds into your yard. So that's been a really cool learning experience. But yeah, so yeah, I have a very wide variety. This client here, they have about 36 acres, I believe, and it's pretty diverse between forest and meadow. And they have a really cool thing going on where they've actually invited artists from all over the world to come in and build sculptures throughout the property. So the public are welcome to come and check out their native meadow and kind of see the art. And so for here, I do maintenance mostly. So I just kind of help keep everything healthy and happy. And yeah, that's what I
Oh,
do.
that's great. And what's the name of your company?
Feather and Fern Wildscapes.
Okay, great.
Yep,
Now, do you have a contact information for that for people to contact you?
I do. Yes. Yep. I have an
Okay.
email. And yeah.
We'll drop that
It
in
will
the
be
show
on the
notes for
scroll.
everyone.
Yeah. So Lauren, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so besides getting into the nitty-gritty, Shelby, I know you take care of the outside of people's homes. William is actually a certified passive house consultant. He can take care of your home in and of itself. So continuing that green theme,
Hmm.
William, why don't you tell us a little bit about your certification and your journey as an architect?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a graduate architect working for Chris Dawson Architect in downtown Harrisburg, and I am the sustainability advocate for the firm. And as you mentioned, Lauren, a certified passive house consultant. So part of my role at my small firm is to help. I've generated the sustainability action plan within our firm and help gear us towards making the designs that we do more sustainable in a wide variety of ways. That can go anywhere from what the materials are that are being used to go into the building, the energy use of the building, solar orientation, efficiency, mechanical systems. There's a wide array of things that could be looked at when trying to make a building, home, commercial, office, whatever it is, more efficient, more sustainable. And we try to touch a little bit of all of that, as well as trying to do some things internally in our own office to try to make it a bit more efficient and a bit healthier and comfortable for everybody. But yeah, as a certified passive house consultant, what what I try to do is create buildings or design buildings that meet the passive house standard. So I can go into that in more detail then, but that is essentially an efficiency standard. I'm trying to make buildings as efficient as possible and comfortable so that we can reduce overall energy use. As I'm sure we're all well aware, especially here in Pennsylvania, energy use is becoming quite the hot topic lately, and transmission lines and the whatnot are in the news every day. So reducing energy use overall is a priority of mine.
Awesome. I love it because you guys just really bring the home together. I mean, you guys have, like I said, Shelby has outside, William, you have the structure. So it's an awesome combination. Have you guys worked together on any projects? Have you guys shared any clients, or do we keep things separate so far?
We have not,
Cool.
but that is kind of a dream of ours, is that maybe someday we can join forces and create our own little business together and do a duo. But yeah, we'll see.
Well, you almost are. So I know you
Yeah.
guys also have a blog called Sustaining Tree,
Mm-hmm.
and that is about your guys' journey building your own home.
Yes,
Why
that's
don't
correct.
you guys
Yeah.
share a little bit about that with us and how you're bringing your different areas of expertise into the construction of your home?
Sure. So we have a 3 acres parcel of land in the middle of the woods, and we've been working towards designing and building a small house to go on there. So not tiny house size, about 1,000 square feet. And we were intending to meet what's called the Living Building Challenge, which is an extremely rigorous standard that tries to cover every aspect of sustainable design for the home and for the land that you could possibly think of. And admittedly, it's rigorous enough that it was a bit over our heads for for the size of house that we want to do and the budget that we have. But through that process, we have learned a lot. And that has also kind of helped us get a little bit to where we are now and understanding our roles in sustainability and landscape design. We're working on designing a small 1,000 square foot home that is at least going to be passive house certified and potentially, and I do believe it will be off grid as well. We have the solar calculations and battery studies and energy efficiency standard to make it off grid. And that is what we'd like to strive for. But regarding like the 3-acre parcel of land that we have already started doing a little bit of work on, Shelby can speak a little bit about what our intentions are with that and what we've done so far.
So one of the challenges we realized is that, well, first, I don't know, I'm going to define what an invasive species is because I don't think everyone is familiar with that. So an invasive species is a species that did not evolve with the ecosystem it is currently in, and it is now dominating that ecosystem and preventing other species that are native and supposed to be there from surviving. So one example would be like Japanese stiltgrass. We have stiltgrass abundantly on our property, and it forms very, very thick layers. And due to its density, it prevents native species that were supposed to be here and did evolve over time with the surrounding ecology. It's preventing them from growing. So great ones like dogwoods or Christmas fern or golden ragwort. So they're with invasive species. They're beautiful in the countries and the places they're supposed to be, especially because there they provide vital life-giving purposes to their surrounding ecology and their surrounding site. However, when you take them from point A to point B, like we've taken many different species, especially in the landscaping trade because of their ornamental value. And we've taken species from other countries and we've brought them here, and now they're taking over and preventing our native species from living. So one of the things we realized with our property is that when you bring new dirt in, this new dirt always has a seed bank. And an invasive species like Japanese stiltgrass, it can exist as a seed bank for up to 7 years in the soil. So it's very hard to get rid of. So when they brought dirt in to do our sand mounds, we now have a whole bunch of invasives that are now threatening our forest. So now we do management days where once a month we go and we just pull. We just take out all the species that aren't supposed to be there. If I'm unfamiliar with the species, I usually leave it until I'm better able to identify it. Naturalist is a great resource. It's an app you can download on your phone. You can take a picture, and then it helps you identify what the different species are. And not just plants, it also does it for insects and animals and footprints. If you find footprints in the forest and you want to know what it belongs to, it does that too. So yeah.
It's a little bit of
I
a
wouldn't wait around too
sidebar.
much for that.
It's in a similar vein, completely off topic. Well, not completely off topic, but Cornell University has a very similar app that recognizes bird song.
Yes.
Yeah.
That one's fun too. I like
That's
that one.
another
Yeah.
that's another cool one. If you're ever like out walking in the woods, like, oh, what is that? You can always pop that on. It'll tell you what's going on. But speaking of invasive species, as a couple of examples, I'm sure you guys have heard down south the issues with the kudzu vines coming in and completely taking over. And then I'm not sure how much you guys have it out by you, but I know here in southeastern PA, we've had the pleasure of spotted lanternflies over the past couple years. And since there's nothing here that ate them, knew that they could eat them the first couple years, people had a lot of trouble with them actually killing their trees. Killing their native trees, like kind of suffocating them. It seems like the ecology is kind of figuring itself out. I'm looking out my window as if you guys can see. Nature's kind of figured it out and things are starting to eat them and it's slowing down a little bit, but it was a huge issue.
Yeah. And that's
couple years.
And that's almost a fortunate circumstance because with a lot of these invasive species, because it takes so many years for things to evolve, a lot of things come in and our native species don't have the time to react so quickly. So they never get the chance to start competing against something. like stilt grass before I mentioned, because it spreads so aggressively. One of the natives I mentioned is golden ragwort, and I've been experimenting. That one seems to kind of be able to combat the stilt grass a little bit more as far as aggressiveness and hold its own, but it's not enough to really be able to claim back a space yet. So it's like our species just haven't really figured out how to, and like deer don't eat stilt grass. They eat our native species. Like if you want to bring deer to your yard, if you're a hunter, like you're not really supposed to do food. Like you're not supposed to plant food crops to bait deer in, but you could plant native species and that's what they eat in the wild. So, and that's what so they'll eat all of our baby trees, which is why your understory and your undergrowth will sometimes not have that new stage of development, that new generation of trees to come in because the deer are eating all of them. And the invasives then come in instead because the deer don't eat them. So yeah, it's one of those things that like our deer haven't been able to evolve fast enough with the income of invasive species and be able to eat them. That's what I want them to do, but they're not doing it. So yeah.
You guys are so well spoken. Do you mind just telling us where your background is? Like, where'd you get all this great information from? Is it just, yeah,
Besides growing up in the woods.
yeah,
That is a big part of it, that's for sure.
yeah,
But so I went to Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh for my architecture degree. And then, of course, becoming a certified passive house consultant took some training to understand building science. Shelby's path is a little bit more unconventional, but I think extremely fruitful.
My degree was originally in Russian and international studies.
Language major,
yeah.
I got you.
I can see that
Love
there,
it.
right? That's not even a slow turn. That's a
Pivot, like a
360.
total.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I mean, I met William and him and I decided we wanted to stay in Perry County. And so I did have to pivot. And originally I took a couple twists and turns trying to figure out what that career path was going to be. And then it came down to, I was like, I see so many things threatening our woods, and I see so many ways that especially people with lawns and with yards can transform that into a space that actually welcomes and supports wildlife. That's possible.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's something I can do. Like whenever I just felt really overwhelmed with how many things terrible that were happening to our world that I wasn't in control of, and planting native plants was something that I could actually do that did have tangible results that helped. And you actually saw it. Like I got to see little monarch caterpillars actually transform from a caterpillar. It was in the J position and it shed its exterior skin and it became its chrysalis. And then I got to watch it come out of the chrysalis and become a butterfly. And this was all at a client's place in their backyard in a garden I was tending to. So it was one of those things. It's like it has real results that I was like, all right, there's so much stuff out there I don't have control of, but that I can plant milkweed. I can do that.
Yeah, I think
So,
that is
yeah.
so good. I love that story. That's a great background on both you guys. That you're able to follow your passion there. My background's actually in. Sorry, there's something in my eye. I graduated Temple with a sport and rec degree, so all I can do is like tennis tournaments. But I have a passion for real estate and always been involved with that. And it's the building and it's everything involved. And I just love helping people. And the way this developed was we were driving down the street and my wife said there was a house that she wanted. And I'm like, are we ready? And I'm like, you know what? That's a really good question. Are we actually ready? And so could we expand that to help other people know when they're ready? And so going to with you guys, so people are living in the woods here, how do they know when they're ready, or how do they know to really reach out to you? Like, what's their first step? I should say.
Well, first I have to say they don't have to be just in the woods. Yeah, you could be anywhere. I think. Well, I'll let you talk a little bit about. Like, if someone were to come and say, I wanted to have a house that was more energy efficient, or I wanted to be able to lower my energy bills and put out solar panels and be net zero.
Yeah, I think there's regarding, I guess, the sustainability in general of a building or structure, there are definitely a lot of different levels of a change that you could do or look for when you want to make a building more sustainable. So someone could be ready to make a small step at any point in just something as simple as changing out your water heater to be a more efficient water heater. Or you could go so far as Shelby was starting to get to, like if you wanted to make your house or home net zero and essentially, or even off grid, that is certainly a much bigger step in process. And usually that would require something like a whole home renovation and going in and making it more efficient by adding more insulation, better windows, better doors, and adding solar panels and battery systems. So there's a wide swath of things you can do in between those two scenarios, depending on the kind of budget that you might have and the amount of work that you're willing to bite off. Yeah, I think the amount of things you could do is so wide in degree that I think you could be ready at any point, just depending on your level of willingness.
Yeah,
So,
and this is basically how we thought of this and started this, is kind of the matriculating first grade, knowing the difference between a Phillips head and a flathead screwdriver, and then growing it to where they are net zero in their house by their own means. And so
Yeah.
that's the goal of this whole podcast here, is just giving out that information where we all learn together. And I'm right with you guys. My goal, my dream is to have a compound down in South Jersey somewhere, but we'll talk
Mhm.
about that later. So Lauren's my realtor on that one. She's looking for me. So, but that is excellent. So, and I think everyone should have some sort of passion to sustainability and being good neighbors, as I always say.
Yeah, because it's not even just about being good neighbors to each other. It's about being good neighbors to the ecology around us and being a steward for nature and being able to do that. William, like you said, there are big lifts, there are little lifts for it. So if a client were to come to me and we're getting ready to list the property and we're looking to just make a couple of like smaller updates, what are some things that we might be able to suggest to them? William, I know you said swapping out the hot water heater is a good one. Are there any other small changes that we can suggest for the interior of the home? Shelby, is there anything that they can do in the garden to, if they're cleaning up their garden, their flower beds, like what kind of native plants, or where can we find native plants to bring in? How can we quick and dirty on a budget
Ooh.
bring some green into our homes?
Sure. Yeah, I could start on the building side of things. I would say there are a lot of little things that you could do with your mechanical systems or your plumbing systems. That the first thing I would look for are things that are old and outdated and will probably need to get swapped out soon anyway. Any new home buyer would want to see something that is recently replaced or brand new in place of something that's been there for 40 years. And, it'd be easy to look at a 40-year-old piece of equipment, and whenever you walk in, I go, oh, if I buy this place, I'm probably going to have to replace that thing. So I would certainly start with your older pieces that have a high likelihood of going. But yeah, that can include your water heater, your appliances, washer, dryer, dishwasher. It can also include different parts of your heating or your cooling system, AC, or and there's a lot of different ways to, of course, heat a home, and they can get very expensive or very affordable. But that next upgrade too can add in a lot of efficiency if you're ready to swap out a different heating or cooling system. But I think the simpler ones, usually you would stick to your appliances. And yeah, I think hot water heaters and washers, dishwashers are certainly a good one. Of course, there's other things that you can do that are not necessarily related to energy efficiency, but with regard to the health of the home. There's some of the simple things like the paint that you put into your house. If you want to give your home a fresh coat of paint before it goes on the market, not only do you, of course, want to think about what that paint looks like or the color, but you could also keep in mind the VOCs of that paint, or the volatile organic compounds. If you use a lot of standard paints may not have a VOC rating or may not have a low VOC label on them. And when you paint an entire house, you could start to feel it by the end of the day, and you'll get a headache, and it can be very smelly and take a lot of time to get rid of that smell. By finding paints that have low VOCs or mineral or naturally based paints, that can also be a benefit. And that goes for really any other product that you would go to put into a house too. Any liquid product should be a low VOC so it doesn't add to the smell of the home or cause headaches. And any other like casework pieces or furniture pieces that you put into the house, you could think about what they're made of and try to stay away from some some products that have those really intense, like brand new smells,
That new
and
car
products
smell,
that
stay away from that, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, if whether it smells good or bad, if it's a very strong smell, it will probably give you a headache. So you usually don't want to overdo it. But yeah, and it can go with regard to floorings too, countertops, and really anything that you put into the house. Just kind of keeping an eye on what it is, what it's made out of, I think are pretty good low budget steps before you put something on the market, I would say.
So, and how about on the outside? What are a couple of quick and easy swaps can we do there?
So I think, and I think this applies also, like I want to make sure that native landscapes are applicable even if you're in an apartment. And as long as you have a window and you have access to light, then you could have like a window planter and you could put in a couple species. There are plenty of native plant species that don't grow too tall, because I know that can be a deterrent to some folks. So you just would have to just make sure you research them, research what plant you're getting. Make sure you're using the Latin name, because there are so many different names for plants along with cultivars, right? Like people have taken a plant and they've modified it to meet or enhance a certain quality that they really like. If you make sure you're using the straight native Latin name, that will help you get the exact plant that you're looking for, and also one that's guaranteed to maintain its host plant value. Maybe I should define host plant real quick.
What are a couple of examples that we might be able to use?
So monarchs. Monarchs are a great one. Everyone loves monarchs. Monarch caterpillars will only eat milkweed. That is it. They will not eat any other plant. So that's why it's called a host plant. Because if a monarch is going to lay its eggs, it's going to try to find milkweed, and those babies are going to only eat that plant once they hatch. And there are many different species of milkweed. There's the common milkweed that you see a lot on the roadsides. There's butterfly weed, not butterfly bush. Butterfly bush is not native and actually considered invasive, not butterfly bush. Butterfly weed is low growing. It only gets to be about 3 feet and has these beautiful bright orange flowers. And then there's swamp milkweed. There's so many different types of milkweed. Point is, if you find a host plant which attracts that certain type of butterfly or moth, because that's the only plant that they eat, then you're going to see a lot more of those types of species in your yard or around your window or wherever. That being said, make sure that you're fitting plants into the spaces that you have. And when I say right plant, right place, essentially. You want to make sure that you're not putting a plant that really loves water and really loves sun in a really shady, dry area, because that plant's not going to live. So you want to make sure that you're picking a plant that actually is going to thrive in the habitat and the location you're putting it in, which is why I'm advocating that you make sure you do your research first, make sure you understand what plant you're actually planting. What is its habit, right? There's plenty of beautiful native mints out there. I can name so many, but mint is also notoriously a little aggressive. So if you want a plant that's a little more docile, butterfly weed is another great example. It's pretty docile, slower growing, and it doesn't get too high. So know your plant. And again, this even applies to container window box gardens. Just know how much sun will that area get? How much is it out from the easement enough that you're going, or the overhang, that it's going to get rain, or are you going to have to remember to water them? So, but that being said, if you don't live in an apartment and you do have land that you can plant in the actual ground, native plants, once you put them, they take some establishment. So usually it's about 3 years until a plant really gets established. Once they're established, you really shouldn't have to water, because they're supposed to be there. If you put the right plant in the right place, right? If you put that sun-loving, water-loving plant in a sunny, watery area, you're never going to have to water because that's what the plant is designed to do. I'm going to go back to butterfly weed again. I'll just keep saying butterfly weed until people get excited about it and they go out and buy some. Butterfly weed loves sun, but it also loves dry areas. So you want to make sure you put it in a spot that is dry, gets lots of sun, and you're never going to have to water it after that. Because what butterfly weed does is it develops a really deep taproot that goes into the ground. And it does that as a way to keep itself alive, and because it goes all the way down there until it finds moisture. And so you shouldn't water it because then it's too much water and it'll get root rot and it will die. So right plant, right place. And
you just described my ideal garden. I'm going to go out and get this started. That's awesome. Now, question for you, Shelby. That when you say that it has that long root, I've heard that about grass too, and I've heard arguments to actually let your grass grow a little bit longer than you might anticipate over the summer or into the fall for that same reason, to give the roots time to establish. Would you say that's accurate for the most part?
Native grasses, yes. There's great diagrams if you go online and you look them up, and I can try to remember to send some. But there's diagrams that actually show that the grass that we have, that we plant in our yards, is not native. It actually, Kentucky bluegrass, someone might want to double check me, but I'm pretty sure it comes from England, not Kentucky. So the grasses that we put in our yard aren't native, and they're not actually supposed to be here. And their root systems are really very shallow. Now, if you compare that to a native grass like little blue stem, which there's tons actually behind me up in that meadow, beautiful grass, its roots go way, way down into the soil. This is fantastic for a number of reasons. First, it helps rainwater actually percolate into the soil and filtrate down into the groundwater table, and therefore you'll have less runoff, less erosion, less flooding. Whereas with our traditional grass, our Kentucky blue, because its roots are so shallow, it doesn't actually help the water. There's a name for it, right? When water is cohesive, like it sticks to something.
Yes.
Yes.
It's escaping me too, but I know exactly what
Yes. Yeah. So the water having longer roots that penetrate deeper into the soil helps the water get further into the soil as well. And that will help you manage flooding. It will help you manage stormwater runoff. It'll help you manage erosion. Yeah. So native plants are great for that because they help. Yeah. That's what they do.
So it's kind of the conversation's almost taken me back to high school a little bit, my high school history class that, sorry for boring anybody, but it's a connection that when we had like the Great Dust Bowl back in the day, that was a factor that a lot of the native plants were removed for farmland, and a lot of the root systems that had been established were no longer there to literally keep the dirt where it is.
Yes.
And caused a lot of the land to dry up and the dirt to fly in Dust Bowl. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah. The plants help us. We just got to help them.
Exactly.
And this is also a little piece where like the both of our worlds kind of combine in a way too, is the fact that native plants are adapted to their environment and should not require like extra watering is something that can lead to a lot of energy or water use. If you have to suck a well to feed your like dozen of sprinkler systems to keep your lawn green, your lawn probably wasn't meant to live in the area that it's been placed in. And if you can use native landscaping to make something truly low maintenance, it's also very energy and water efficient too. It's just better all around when you can do that. And of course, then you can save money on the systems that you need. You save money on water usage, especially if you're in a town and you're paying for that water. And the idea of no maintenance is, of course, usually a win for everybody, I think.
You have me sold there. Say no more.
So,
What do you think? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Did you have any questions?
Well, I just wanted to double back on what you were saying, William, about I'm always curious about the roofs that have the grass on them. So this is probably, can you explain? I can't figure that out. So maybe you could talk to the to us about the benefits of that. So
Before you dive into it, William, as a case study in Austin, which I'm sure you're aware of, the Austin Public Library had a huge renovation not too long ago where they put an entire garden on top of the library, trees, rocks, plants, everything. It's very
Sure.
much a living space up there. It's
Yeah.
Cool.
absolutely stunning. But William, I think that's might be more than most people can swing. What are the
yeah,
but like
Sure.
Matt said, like what are the implications? Like what's the deal? What are we doing?
Yeah, yeah. You usually see those on, of course, much larger buildings and commercial institutions, and especially educational facilities, libraries, and college universities. But if you think about the amount of land area that we as humans have begun to take up with our buildings, and especially if you think of very large flat roofed buildings like a warehouse or a big school of some sort, that is a lot of area that is now being used for nothing but trying to get water off of it. You're essentially just trying to keep the space underneath dry. And there could be so many more opportunities that could be used for by placing gardens on top of a building. That adds a lot of different benefits to it. One is you can bring native plants in and you can provide benefits to the local ecology of the place. You could put a lot of milkweed in there so that you get some monarch butterflies that literally grow off the top of your roof. In large urban areas, where of course buildings are very dense and you have a lot of flat roofs, you can also be subject to a lot of stormwater runoff that can overflow a city system. A lot of old cities, especially here in the US, I know Harrisburg is notorious for a combined sewer system, sewer and stormwater system. So all of the water that comes from all of our plumbing systems and all of our buildings and all of our toilets goes to the same facility as all of the stormwater that comes running down off into the streets whenever it rains. And if you have a ton of hardscaping that does not allow the water to filter in, then that stormwater will flow into those grates into the city streets and head to the wastewater facilities. And during a very heavy rain event, if there's too much water that facility is not able to treat all of it fast enough, they will just dump it in the river. And Harrisburg has been decades now causing a lot of havoc in the Chesapeake Bay because of their combined system. During very heavy rain events, they will dump a lot of sewage in the Susquehanna River. And I know Harrisburg is not the only city to do this. There are many cities around the world and in the US that do this all the time. So by limiting the amount of stormwater runoff and holding on to that water for a longer period of time and allowing it to slowly disperse back into the environment like a natural landscape does, you can really help an urban area to combat that issue that is common across a lot of US cities. So in cities in particular, green roofs can be extremely beneficial by slowing the amount of stormwater runoff that reaches into those drains. And then there can be a couple of other added benefits as well, as just, added biophilic design, being able to see green spaces outside your window when you're looking at another lower roof. It also reflects the sun better than a black rubber roof would. So you can actually lower your energy costs by keeping your building cooler by adding that thick layer of dirt and that grass that helps keep the sun from beating down on your building and making it hot inside. So there are a lot of benefits, with the caveat that, of course, they're expensive to do, but they are really cool pieces of engineering that are worth looking at and understanding.
I agree with that. How do they handle the weight and the stress of all that dirt, the wet dirt and the
Yeah.
water itself? I mean, is that pre-built in that? I mean, do they take that into part of the building stage of that?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely is. I don't think you could ever retrofit a green roof onto your building, and I would not recommend it. I do believe that is something that a structural engineer needs to help you
Mhm.
understand the size of the members that need to go into that, and they are going to be a lot chunkier than a standard building.
So it's probably not a good idea to put a garden on my roof here in Philly.
No,
Yeah.
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't do that.
Uh, Okay, good. That's one thing I can knock off my list. Thanks.
So what are some resources where we might be able to find what native plants our local ecosystem would welcome, or where we can look to find some of these smarter, or not smarter, but more earth friendly systems? Where might we be able to find some of that information if we do want to do some of our own research?
Well, I want to say for the passive house component, for like finding homes that are energy efficient and just kind of the building science behind it, Philadelphia has a really thriving passive house community with a whole conglomerate of architects and engineers, and there's just a bunch of people that are really like passionate about it. Green Building United, right? Green Building United is the Philly branch of just all of these enthusiasts and professionals who talk about the building science component of things. And they have consultants. They have people that I'm sure if you reached out to them and you wanted to check out a house and wanted to understand like what are the ways that you needed to work on the efficiency or et cetera, that they'd be more than happy to help you out. So I would say Green Building United and ask for passive house people.
I love it.
Yeah, and when you're looking for a building, if you're on the end of finding real estate, I would also recommend looking at what is called a HERS rating, HERS. And that stands for it's the Home Energy Rating System. And it's a system that was standardized by nationwide institution that essentially scores every building that registers under it. And it's an energy efficiency standard that allows you to understand how well the building does in terms of its energy usage. For example, like a standard home from 2006 would rate as 100, and a net zero building that generates all of its electricity it uses would be a 0. And then it could even go down to negative if you generate more electricity than you use throughout the year. So that's a good and very easy to understand system that allows you to find properties that have that great value. And if you're selling your property, to put it on that system can lead to a lot of other buyers that are interested in sustainability and energy efficiency to find that property too. And then, of course, energy efficiency standards like Passive House is one. LEED, LEED, is another popular standard for energy efficiency and sustainability.
Not so much for homes.
Yeah, Passive House is probably one of the most popular ones for homes. There's also net zero energy ready homes. That's a national standard. And whenever you're looking for building products to be used inside your house, a very accessible standard that you will probably see most all over the place is Energy Star. You can get windows and doors and appliances that have Energy Star ratings. It simply means that they're very efficient windows and doors, or very low energy usage appliances. And if you're installing any type of plumbing systems or hot water heaters, WaterSense labels are good to look for. Those usually mean that they pass a strict standard on the amount of water that they use. And I guess one other resource that I would throw out there too, if you're looking for any type of product to go into a building, favorite that I like to look for first is called the Declare database. And that was created by the International Living Future Institute, who oversees the Living Building Challenge. And that database allows you to find quite literally anything that you would put into a building, any type of product, material, or furniture piece that you would be looking for. And that is a nutrition label for every product that you would ever want to use in a building.
It's actually a really awesome program. It's like if you, like, you're about to open a granola bar and you're about to eat it. You see the nutrition label and it goes through all the ingredients, exactly about what you're about to put into your body. It's exactly that, except for building products. You get to know exactly what you're putting into your house. Are there any known carcinogens in the product you're putting in? What kind of chemicals are there? So it's really, really helpful. It is a good go-to. I think that's a great start for people just to kind of become familiar with what products are on the market when they start looking for things. And I think still the hard part is it still takes some independent research and talking to manufacturers and talking to people. So it doesn't really solve all your problems when you're trying to go buy something for your house, but it's a good place to start and just kind of becoming educated and aware and understanding what are we exposed to? What are our kids exposed to every day?
Yeah.
No.
And the more these things are brought up to any place that you go buy a product, any like your Home Depot or something, anytime you bring these things up and make people more aware of them, the more likely they will become more prevalent and a lot easier and more accessible for everybody too. So certainly worth always mentioning it.
And I would say there's a lot of really accessible products that do have declare labels. Like my parents were looking at flooring. They have flooring that have declare labels, so you know exactly what's in it. They have office chairs that have declare labels, so you know what's in your office chair. They have siding, they have windows, they have, so many things that you can kind of look at if you're looking at replacing things. Not so much appliances. The last time I looked, they don't have many appliances, but as far as like building products, carpet, they have a lot of carpet with declare labels and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about the granite, like the radiation from the granite. I don't know if that fits with that line there, but I know a lot of people have been getting away from granite, going to quartz. But phenomenal information. Thank you. What it's all about. So being able to, so and is there, Lauren, you have anything else?
I'm trying to think because it's we're kind of getting into like home decor and everything a little bit. It's not just because it's Earth Day, but I'm always an advocate for reduce, reuse, recycle. Like the first thing we do is reduce. Second thing we do is reuse. I'm a huge proponent for going out and finding something used, giving something a second life, going to a thrift store, going to supporting Habitat for Humanity and going to Restore and getting cabinets. They have appliances, they have furniture. I've gotten paint.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's actually awesome. That's because fantastic. You know how many times you have random cans of paint just sitting in your basement? You're like, I don't know what I'm going to do with
5 gallons for like $60. You cannot beat it. It was, I think they had their own brand even. It was crazy, but.
Yeah, and awesome. I feel like I want to just emphasize, though, how amazing a facility like that is. Yes. Because not only can you find products that somebody else was probably about to throw away in there for a really great price, but that if you have a lot of things in your house, like leftover paint cans that you just don't, like you didn't end up using, instead of just tossing them in the trash. There's so many things that you can donate to a Habitat Restore and then somebody else can use it. One man's trash is another man's treasure. And it really just helps the whole system.
Absolutely. And if it's not something that's accessible to your part of the world, there's always Facebook Marketplace.
That's so true.
Buying nothing groups, offer up. There are so many opportunities to, just like you said, one man's trash is another man's treasure, to find some of these things, and it helps us keep stuff out of landfills too. So the same thing with leaf litter, that we don't necessarily have to get rid of our leaves come fall, because they're going to sit in a plastic bag and get buried in a landfill somewhere, and some salamander is going to be very happy if you leave it.
I know. That's I found so many early March. I was starting to kind of just like, go through the gardens. You really don't want to touch your leaves until April, because, and point proven, like I proved it to myself just last week going through the garden, and I found, we call them woolly bear caterpillars, but they're the Isabella tiger moths, and they will hibernate in the leaves over winter. And the way they do that is they actually pump a antifreeze through their system. So that way it keeps their body, I can't remember the chemical's name, but they basically pump thick liquid through their body to keep themselves, so I guess not liquid, I don't know. They don't freeze. And they're in the leaf litter. So, and I found at least 7 the other day, just in the leaves, just curled up in their little cute little fuzzy curls. So so you want to leave your leaves because they're still hibernating. They're still doing their thing. And
that is.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, we could go on all day. I know. Yeah. I'm so tempted, just like take the camera. It's like, here's my yard, make something cool with that.
Oh, wait, I did want to share some resources real quick.
Please,
for people who wanted to learn more about native plants.
Yes.
Doug Tallamy is an author, and I think he lives in the Philly area. So he's written so many different books on how you can essentially save the world and reverse climate change by just taking out a portion of your yard and turning it into a native habitat. That's all it would take. If all of us were just to take a portion of our lawn and transform it with native plants, we could save the world. Like, that's just such an incredible concept. So he's written a whole bunch of books on that, and he talks about the host plant value. He really goes into that, and he talks about what plants will attract what insects, and how those insects attract birds. So if you're a birder and you love watching birds, you got to have the insects. If you want the insects, you got to have the plants. So he kind of goes through that relationship between everything and how you can promote that in your yard, your property. So Doug Tallamy, he's a great resource. And the other one is to look into your local wild ones chapter. There's chapters regionally throughout the country, and they will have, they have a lot of free events. They have a lot of native plant sales where you can come and you can buy native plants. You can talk to people, learn more. They have a lot of free educational events where they have people come and talk and how you can transform your yard. They actually have free landscape designs on their website that you can download based upon your region and area. So that will, even if the design's not really applicable to your area, you can at least look at, okay, this design was meant for a site that is a lot of rate or gets a lot of, it's in a moist area, right? So, and look at the plants that they specified. Those must be plants that like wetter areas. So you can kind of use that to help base your designs. And that being said, nurseries that are in the Philadelphia area, Red Bud Nursery is one. Edge of the Woods Nursery, that's another. Pennsylvania Native Plant Society has a list on their website that lists all of the nurseries in Pennsylvania. So you can go on there to find ones that are closest to you. But I've been to Edge of the Woods Nursery before, and that one is a good one. That's a really cool nursery. They'll give tours too. Like, they have a rain garden, and you can tour their rain garden and see all the cool stuff. So yeah. So those,
this is we're winding up our third season. So we're probably mid-30s. We have not done an episode like this where it's so much great information. Like, this is phenomenal. And like Lauren says, I could be here all night. Like, we can literally be here all night and just going on and going on. But I want people to kind of listen and contact us and contact you and get their stuff ready. And that it's just been phenomenal. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, you guys. And I definitely want to encourage listeners to reach out to us with questions, reach out to you guys with questions, and even your local municipality. Don't sleep on your local municipality when it comes to green solutions. I know I live in Montgomery County, and they have awesome workshops. I actually got a free rain barrel through one of their workshops. Yeah, you signed up, you RSVP, they had a little garage out back, you go pick it up at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Really, and they're huge proponents of it, but they have really amazing resources as well. So double check your local municipal website and get in touch. And if it's not something that they offer, request it. You might be surprised by what's there, by what opportunities are available to you.
Being said, I want to list one more resource for people. So for folks who have property and have land, get to know what invasive species might be on your property, because Pennsylvania has a program called the Invasive Replacive Program, where if you rip out an invasive species, you take a picture of it, and then you show up at one of their events, you'll get free native plants, like free. I got native magnolia, I got native persimmons, I got native red buds, because our property, unfortunately, has a lot of invasives. So I went out and I ripped out some of our multiflora rose and our barberry, and I took pictures and I got free plants. So that's a great way too. And it helps you get to know your property too. So you become a little bit more accustomed with what plants are on my property, which ones should be here and which ones shouldn't be here. So that and then you get a native plant to replace it with. So it's kind of nice.
I have a tree of heaven out in my yard. Can I just take the whole thing to them? Like, drop it in the top of my car, get a caravan going down the road. Here you go. You're problem now.
Yeah. I'll take 50 free plants, please.
Right?
Yeah.
Just come redo my yard. It'll be fine. There's a big old hole there now. Plug your blog, social media, anything like that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we have a blog that we had made a while ago, but it has been a while since we've touched it. But Sustaining Tree was where we were writing the adventures about building our own home. But building our own home takes enough effort that it's hard to also write the blog at the same time. So it has been a little behind, but we do have a lot of great information, and it's still online and available. So there are a lot of good resources on there about a lot of the things that we have just been talking about. And yeah, I don't know. I actually I kind of forget about Earth Day a lot, and I guess it's partly because I am trying, especially at my firm, to just make it a habit to have every day be Earth Day. And it is a challenge. It's definitely hard to not only make sure that you're trying to think of everything you can to try to make the world a little more sustainable, but it can also be very hard to convince a lot of people around you at the same time too. So it's small steps every day make a big difference, I think. And the more opportunities we have like this to help teach other people and bring knowledge to the table as to not just why things are great for the planet, but better for humanity as well. Just the further we'll just continue to progress in all of this. And one day Earth Day may no longer be a thing because every day would be treated like that.
That's a great philosophy there.
Hope so.
Lauren, you have anything?
No, it's just thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about this. I mean, this is so amazingly interesting, and it's just like you said, like it's not, you don't have to do everything perfectly, but if we all make a small effort, it can make a huge, huge difference. So that's why we want to, one of the reasons we wanted to have you guys on, to see these small things that we can do, because I don't know about you, but I think I can go out and throw some butterfly weed in the ground. It's
I think you should. Yeah.
why the
Absolutely.
yard is sad and dry and sunny, and it sounds like it'll be perfectly happy, and I don't have to take care of it, so I'll be happy too. So just little simple
Yeah,
changes.
I would love a butterfly bush. But being in Philly, I would be afraid that they would form a gang and then come after me.
That's fair. That's fair.
Fireflies are pretty tough around here, so, and it's I've already had issues with squirrels. So
Squirrels love fresh mulch.
squirrel mob around here had to be handled, and unfortunately, there's another Mr. Hawk came around when Mr. Squirrel was doing his thing, and it did not end well for Mr. Squirrel. Anyway, so
It sounds like a
Thank you.
very lively
Yeah.
area that
That
you
sounds
do have.
entertaining.
It
That
does.
sounds
It
fun.
sounds
yeah, you know, I
It's the
do
only
live in
wildlife
a
in
very
Philly. No.
active animal area, so there are foxes and raccoons, and
Love it.
although someone
That's awesome.
saw a bobcat the other day.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, bobcat
Wow.
in the
Is this
neighborhood.
like the rabbit beaver thing you guys had a couple years ago, or is this
Yeah,
like, why is there a bobcat in the Northeast?
hey, I don't know. No one stopped them to ask. So,
Oh, that's great. I love it.
so we end this. So I have to do an outro now. So after all that, so yeah, brought to you by Mr. Bobcat. No, but I'm just gonna start off of 5 to end it, and then we can keep on chatting here. So that's it for today, folks. Phenomenal episode with William and Shelby about sustainability, about the upcoming Earth Day. Shelby and her planning and what she does with Indigenous planning, and then William with his passive housing. Great couple, great power there. Feel free to reach out to them, reach out to myself, reach out to Lauren. Again, it's been a phenomenal chat today on Ready for Real Estate. Thank you, folks. And remember, stay ready. It's Matt, and have a great day. And that's it.
That was well.
Thanks so much for listening. If you're looking for the links we mentioned today or want to connect with us on social media, everything you need is right there in the show notes. Join our community on Beehive for more market insights. And if you have a topic you want us to cover, reach out. We're always listening. If you need support on your next real estate deal, let us know. Matt Grace is a licensed realtor with Keller Williams in Pennsylvania, and Lauren is a licensed realtor with eXp Realty in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Remember, the market is always moving. When opportunity knocks, will you be ready? We'll see you in the next one.